Errol, NC.
Your home for Hannity each afternoon at 3 p.m. Talk 96.3 and 103.7. Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
He gave a fringe white supremacist group a new rallying cry.
I don't know who Proud Boys are, but whoever they are, they have to stand down.
He was point blank asked, do you denounce white supremacy? And he said, I've always
denounced any form.
The supporters are saying he should cancel the rest of the debates.
Anything that gives Joe Biden some type of advantage.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. It is News and Views. Tom Lamprecht, Bennie Hardy, and we're going to have Tim Moore with us in just a few minutes talking about that judge's ruling. Hot off the press is the Biden campaign has announced that Joe Biden's wife, Jill, will be in town next week in Greenville, Eastern Carolina. And apparently she's coming in on Tuesday. So we'll keep an eye on that. So a federal judge on Wednesday blasted the State Board of Elections' recent change to the rules for absentee ballots, arguing that the move effectively overturns state law that requires voters to have a witness sign their mail-in ballot. Under the guise of, this is really interesting because they actually, the State Board of Elections, the Democrats on the State Board of Elections, and Democrat Attorney General Josh Stein acted as if we're complying with this ruling by the judge. And the judge came out yesterday and said, Judge William Osteen came out and said, no, you didn't comply with anything that I said. In fact, you've gone way, way beyond an undone state law. To talk about that and where and how this is going to affect his lawsuit, the Speaker of the North Carolina House is on the line with us, Tim Moore. Tim, thanks so much for joining us again.
Thanks, Tom. It's good to be on with you today.
So let's first of all talk about this decision by Judge Osteen. He pretty much came out and really spanked the Democrats on the State Board of Elections as well as Josh Stein. In fact, it's really interesting, too, to note that the Trump campaign sent out a memorandum to the Republicans that sit on county boards of elections and said this memorandum that came out from the State Board of Elections, from the Democrats, from Josh Stein and from the State Board of Elections, ignore it. That that you shouldn't obey this. This goes against state law. Then the Democrats on the State Board of Elections actually sent out a memo saying, ignore any memos that come from the Republican Party. This is really getting into a spat, and it sounds like Judge Osteen has come in and said, put the brakes on here. What you're doing is not right. Tim, pick it up from there.
Well, and a lot of this is pretty technical, but I think it's important that folks understand what it is that the Democrats are trying to do. We in North Carolina passed a bill on a bipartisan basis last year that made clear that when it comes to absentee ballots, that number one, they can only be requested by the voter themselves or by a legal guardian or a family member. We also made it clear that as far as those ballots being returned, that they have to be returned by folks who have the authority to pick them up as well, and that they have to sign in basically a log and say, I'm turning in, if you're picking up the ballot for your elderly parents, you bring them back, you sign and say, these are ballots that I picked up for my elderly parents, here they are, we're turning them in. Or, of course, the voter can always just mail them in. But they don't want this. They don't want the statute does not allow just like anonymous drop boxes and just allow mass what's called ballot harvesting. Well, remember we had that whole debacle with the 9th district, right? We had to have a special election.
McCray Dallas.
The issue was what? Exactly. The issue was what? Ballot harvesting, where people could just go request a lot of ballots for folks who may not even know what they're voting for, mark the ballots for them, turn it in, and there was no way to be able to catch who did it. The only way that the situation was discovered in Bladen County was the fact that you were able to determine who the witness was and the person was who dropped it off, and they investigated it, found there was fraud, and then went from there. What the Democrats and what Josh Stein and the governor's board are basically trying to do is to get rid of every one of those safeguards so that you can have widespread ballot harvesting and therefore widespread ballot fraud. It's unbelievable that they really tried this. Well, what they were doing, of course, then was they were trying to use this order from Judge Osteen as a basis for doing this.
Now you're talking about his August 4th order, not the order from yesterday, but the August 4th order.
Right. They were going back and saying, well, this previous order that Judge Osteen issued in August allows us to do this, and so they were telling the State Board of Elections to take the position they were of allowing this basically these unwitnessed ballots to come in violation of state law, clearly in violation, contradictory to what state law has. And Judge Osteen, I think this is important to note, on his own motion, on the courts, it's called sua sponte. It is on the court's own motion without anybody asking, stepped in and said, wait a minute, this is not right. That what Josh Stein and the governor and the Democrats are trying to do is clearly violating his order, and he would not stand for that to happen. And so my hats off to the judge for doing that, because they were what they were trying to do is, I don't think, frankly, is ethical. It's not legal, and they've been called on the carpet on it, and they should be, because here's the deal. I want to see fair elections. I want the person to win on Election Day who got the most votes, got the most legal votes. We don't need people trying to steal elections. And that is essentially what the Democrats have condoned with what they're trying to do. And it's great to see that we actually have those in the judiciary who are going to call it the way it actually is. So I think you're going to see it get fixed now. Now, I do want to mention something you talked about these competing instructions. What the Democrats have done through these instructions to the county boards, and then, of course, these instructions being given to voters, is actually doing those voters a disservice. Right. Under the law that we passed last year, under the law that they're trying to get around, voters can cure their ballot by simply getting the witness to verify that, yes, I witnessed Jane Doe send this in.
And that was basically the essence of the August 4th memo, right? Was that, okay,
that's my understanding, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to be, instead of just tossing it, okay, can we cure it? But the Democrats, their version of the cure was just to toss everything that the legislature had passed and Cooper had signed.
Their version was basically to say that the same person who's supposedly signed the thing for the ballot is verifying, yeah, I'm the one that signed for the ballot. Well, that's
no
not
witness.
The issue. The issue is the witness saying that, yeah, it was Jane Doe voting for Jane Doe. It wasn't someone else pretending to be, or some other individual doing it. And that's important, because if you have someone, I mean, it's about what the voter's intent is. And if you have someone who, if someone goes to a nursing home, Tom, and they just make a request for 50 absentee ballots, and then the absentee ballots arrive, and then that person who made the request, without consulting those voters, just goes and fills out the ballots and sends it in, that is against the law. They should be prosecuted for that, because it's not their vote. It's the vote of that citizen whose right they just took. And that's the kind of stuff that happens. I mean, it's outrageous.
McCrae Dallas, exactly what happened.
Right. I mean, yeah, this is not theory. I mean, the folks in District 9 went without a congressman for a year because of this. We had a special election. So it's not like we have to guess this has happened. Of course it happened. We've got proof of that. So I think that the Attorney General and the governor, they have a lot of explaining to do. And it sounds like that this federal judge is going to bring them into his courtroom and let them explain there.
Now, when you filed your lawsuit, originally, I mean, when they came out with this, and we talked about this with you a week and a half, 2 weeks ago when it first came out that day, we got you on here. You filed a lawsuit. I think Phil Berger has his own lawsuit.
He's in our.
It's all one and the same. Okay, is that in a federal court or is that in a state court?
It is in federal court. It's in the Eastern District. It's actually in front of another judge.
Judge Joyner?
It's in front of Judge Deaver.
Deaver, that's it.
Yes. Yeah. So that lawsuit's in front of him. So this was a judge, speaking up in another whole separate case, basically saying, wait a minute. So I would expect, I don't ever presume what any judge is going to do anywhere, right? That's the province of a judge to make a decision. But one would think that the other judge is going to see what this judge said, and I would imagine would come down on the side that we're arguing, which is the actions by this Democratic state board and by the AG run completely contrary to what the law is. But I want to mention something, because a lot's been made about the fact that those two Republican members of the state board voted for this. Those two Republican members of the state board have made it clear that they were misled. And I'll give you one example of something that happened. The Attorney General, who was staffing this meeting, and this can be seen in the minutes, told those board members that they could not disclose the nature of this conversation because of it being attorney-client privilege to anyone else. Therefore, they were non-attorneys, so they couldn't check with attorneys from the Republican side of the aisle.
Unbelievable.
To see, hey, is this correct information? Let me tell you something. That information that attorney gave those board members was patently false. You cannot instruct a member of a board that they disclose something like that in closed session. They are specifically allowed to do that. It's just that they don't have to disclose it. It's not something that prohibits them from doing it.
Now, did that come from the mouth of Josh Stein? Was Josh Stein the one that said that?
I think it was whoever the staff attorney was from the Attorney General's office. It was there. It's in those minutes, and those were all unloaded and made public through a document dump a few days ago. And so we saw that, and we were just sort of blown away.
Unbelievable.
Because but get this, then in a later meeting, the chair went through to correct that statement that was a misstatement that had just been given to those members.
Oh,
but it was clear that it was meant so those members could not seek outside counsel from attorneys to realize they were getting duped, because the thing they were being told the whole time was that no, the witness requirement's being left in place. Because the net effect of what they did, Tom, was the witness requirement was there, but they said if the witness requirement wasn't followed, they'd count the ballot anyway. Absolutely ludicrous.
We're talking to Tim Moore about Judge Osteen's decision yesterday. Bennie Hardy's with us. Tim, he's got a question for you.
Speaker Moore, for the last, couple of weeks, we've been trying to inform our listeners of the statistics on the State Board of Elections website in terms of registered voters, absentee requests, and that type of thing. And as of this afternoon, I looked at it. There was 7.2 million voter registrations in North Carolina, 1.1 million absentee requests to this date, compared with only 100,000 in the 2016 election. Of these 1.1 million, 300,000 has already been cast absentee. Based on the law that you guys put in place, signed by the governor, are you confident that we can have a fair election with all these absentee ballots?
We can if the State Board of Elections will simply follow the law. The law is there as to how they're supposed to do these, how they're supposed to deal with these absentee ballots. We actually have some video put on my Facebook page, and it's also on my website, speakformore.com, where we showed video footage of Josh Stein, the Attorney General, talking to a group of elections officials, where he even told them the greatest amount of voter fraud happens with absentee ballots. Well, and then all of a sudden now they want to throw open all of the safeguards on it. Look, here's the issue. Number one, count the absentee ballots that are valid ballots. Number two, if the voter sends in something and they don't do something right, give them an opportunity to fix it so that their ballot can be counted. And number three, be consistent. Don't start changing the rules of the election after folks have already started voting. And what the State Board of Elections has done, and the Attorney General, frankly, is to blame for a big part of this, is to try to do that in the middle of voting. That's terrible to do that. And it's because now you have a group of voters who've been told they can cure their ballots by sending in an affidavit that actually does not comply with state law. And that's not fair to those voters. So, why can't we all just agree to, everybody acknowledges this is what the law is. Simply follow the law. It's not hard. And the Democrats, because of, I don't know if they're just worried that they can't win the election if it's a fair election or what it is, but this is, they've created a situation that did not need to happen.
Well, and again, the Republicans actually, originally it was 2 witnesses on the ballots. It's been taken back to 1 witness. I think you also extended the days for the ballots to be collected by 3 days. And it's like, that's not good enough. No matter, you give an inch, they want a mile. Judge Osteen also brought up on the federal level the Purcell versus Gonzalez case from back in 2006, where they said, you know what, you can't change the rules after the election has started. And Judge Osteen went out of his way to say the election started on September the 4th.
Yep, that's exactly right. You can't do it. And why they thought, I don't know. Is it hubris? What is it? I don't know, to think that you can just go in and willy-nilly do these things. We've gotten to where we're just kind of used to seeing that from this governor, right? Whether it's decisions about the economy of the state. I don't want voters to forget something very important. For the first time in the history of this state, a sitting governor issued an order that said you could not go to church. You cannot freely exercise the freedom of religion.
All right.
And people are and when did he stop doing that, Tom? When did he stop? After a federal judge said you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the power has gone to their heads, and they just feel like that they're kings or something. I don't get it, and I'm really wondering what is going on with our governor. And so so I think it just fits. It follows the same mold. I think the governor thinks because he's the governor, he can do what he wants to do, regardless of what the law says, and regardless of who gets hurt in the process.
Well, Speaker Moore, you probably can't step out and say this, but I will. To me, this is a national effort that's going around the country by the Democratic Party to cast doubt on this election, to honestly to commit voter fraud. And we've got a governor and an attorney general in North Carolina that's complicit in representing the Democratic Party over the citizens of North Carolina in which they were elected.
Tim,
I agree with your assessment of it. I think they allowed this order. Okay, think about that whole sham of a consent order. You had Democrats suing Democrats, right? And guess what? They reached a consent order. Imagine that. But never mind the fact that the Republican defendants, of which Senator Berger and I were 2 of the Republican defendants, were never even consulted. You can't do that. If you have a settlement with all the parties, it's a settlement with all of the parties. It's just absolutely just so over the top wrong that it's. I'm glad these judges. I'm glad these federal judges are finally calling them out and not letting them get away with this.
The judge in his memo that came out yesterday said that he was calling for a status conference as soon as possible, which I assume that means all the parties that are related to this are going to be called before him, and they've got some splaining to do. And basically he says, okay, he calls them the executive defendants, but Josh Stein and the State Board of Elections, you Democrats, we want to know whether this court's interpretation of the notice of filing is correct or incorrect, whether this court's order was asserted as a basis for a revision of election procedure to allow submission of an absentee ballot, mail ballot without a witness signature, and if so, what action or relief is necessary from this court to address improper application. Are you going to be a part of that?
I doubt I would be there, but I'd certainly love to be there. I'll say that. But no, I won't. I don't think I'll be there. But
somebody on your behalf. Yeah. Okay. Because obviously,
our attorneys will be there.
Obviously, your attorneys weren't there when Josh Stein and the Democrats decided to go in their wayward way.
Right. No, we were not consulted at all.
Where then does the situation, your lawsuit with Judge Dever go from here?
Judge Dever. So that lawsuit is pending. I believe there's some kind of hearing next week on that lawsuit as well. Really what we would like to see is some clear guidance from the federal court on this issue. And at the end of the day, for the federal court to simply direct that the State Board of Elections follow the law. I mean, like I say, this should not be hard. We have a law in the books. It's constitutional. It's very clear. It's essentially, other than reducing from 2 witnesses to 1, it's the same law that we've had for decades. And they simply need to follow the law. I don't know why they feel like they have to try to change the rules midstream and violate a state law and make it easier for voter fraud to happen, because those are the things that that the Democrats have tried to do. And enough's enough. And I think the voters see it. What it tells me as a candidate, what it tells me as a voter, what it tells me as a citizen of the state, is that the Democrats don't believe that their ideas are resonating with the voters. They know the voters are on to them. The voters know that a lot of them want to defund the police, want to raise taxes to the highest level they would have ever been in our state's history. And the voters are rejecting those ideas. So now, as a last act of desperation, they're trying to change the rules and find a way to encourage voter fraud. And that's outrageous.
Well, I tell you, the other thing that is outrageous about this is I'm sick and tired of people breaking the law or attempting to break the law or attempting to get around the law, and all they get as any kind of punishment is they say, "I'm sorry," or "Can I have a do-over?" I want these people to be held accountable, and I know. And I suppose the judge could do something about it, but you see this time and time again, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, and then 2 weeks later they're trying to get around it in some other fashion.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Tom. That's where it is. But the ultimate way that this gets put into check is by the voters.
Yep.
The voters can see very clearly, and this is not a partisan thing coming from these judges. But they can clearly see that it is Democrats who are trying to find ways to rig this election.
Yeah.
That order that came out from that judge was not something that that Republicans made a motion about. That's something the judge did on his own because it was so outrageous. Yeah. And the voters should remember that when they go to vote.
Bingo.
Should demand that that not happen. The best way to do it is to make sure that these Democratic officials and candidates who have gotten involved in this and condoned this lose their jobs.
Oh, it would be nice if we had Buck Newton up there instead of Josh.
I'm just like I say, I'm just in shock that they believe they can just so flagrantly violate the law. It's how can you do that with a straight face? How can you do that? But the great thing is, the courts are going to have the last word on this. But at the end of the day, Tom, the voters are going to have the ultimate last word on all of this.
Speaker Moore, I am sure you slept better last night after Judge Osteen's memo came out. And hey, keep up the good work. I know it's sometimes you got to feel like you're beating your head against the wall, and how many fires can you put out at the same time? But keep going the way you're going, Tim, and we appreciate what you do for all the people of Eastern North Carolina and the entire state, for that matter.
Well, Tom, I appreciate everything you do as well for being out there and getting the word out to folks on this, because people need to know, and I'm glad you're there as well.
All right, thank you, Tim. We'll talk to you soon. Tim Moore calling in. I think he's probably up in King Mountain. I would think not in Raleigh today, but we will be back. By the way, we have political trivia today. We're not going to play right now. We'll play in a little bit. Your category, however, is going to be William Howard Taft. Stay with us. More news and views coming up.
Our local police matter. That is why Tony Moore is running for North Carolina House. Tony's opponent, Candy Smith, has had several run-ins with law enforcement and court summons in multiple counties. Police officers filed a lawsuit against Candy Smith, alleging that she was initiating confrontations and interactions with GPD officers to file complaints against them. Our local law enforcement have a difficult job and deserve our support.
I am Tony Moore, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to elect Tony Moore to NC House.
Hidden phone trade-ins, hidden plan requirements, hidden catches. You won't find them at U.S. Cellular because we speak fair. Plus, when you switch right now, you can get $500 off the latest phones. Upgrade to Fair. Upgrade to U.S. Cellular. Requires new postpaid service plan, new line port, and credit approval. Qualified smartphone purchase and comes via monthly bill credit on a 30-month RIC. Taxes, fees, and additional terms apply.
Does the idea of going to your local U.S. Cellular store make you feel a bit uncomfortable? Tired of the hassle of waiting and wearing a mask? Let Toby Williams and his outside sales team take away that worry. They will come right to your home or office and drop your phone off on the porch or at the front desk for you. Saving you time and worry is what the Cellular Warehouse team is all about. Call Toby Williams today at 252-799-7051. That's 252-799-7051. And let them help you with all your wireless needs. Cellular Warehouse, your local U.S. Cellular authorized agent.
Timeshare owners, what I'm about to share may save you thousands of dollars. I'm Gordon Newton, president of the Newton Group and author of The Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit. In the last 15 years, I've heard everything imaginable from exit companies trying to get you to hire them. I've heard them advertise a money-back guarantee. The truth is, those guarantees fall flat time and time again as bad exit companies file for bankruptcy and take your money with them. I've heard them try to earn your trust, claiming they pioneered timeshare cancellation in 2008. The ugly truth is that's not possible. Newton Group has been leading the exit industry long before that. I've even heard exit companies pay celebrity endorsers to convince you they're experts. The truth is the experts at Newton Group wrote The Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit. Every year, timeshare owners lose millions of dollars by hiring the wrong exit company. If you want out of your timeshare, call Newton Group at 800-800-1764 for your free no-obligation consultation and free copy of the guide. That's 800-800-1764 or newtongroup.com.
Right now, we all might feel a little disconnected. For seniors living alone with smaller social circles, feelings of loneliness and isolation can feel overwhelming. But there's something we can all do to help. Connect with your older loved one virtually and have the conversation of a lifetime with StoryCorps Connect. Anyone can conduct an interview, and every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history. Connect, honor, share at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to News and Views.
He is a genius.
He's all powerful.
He brought a kind of heat.
He could be the best. Whatever. Of course, the best part you're invited to is to join in on the fun with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. Tom Lamprecht, Bennie Hardy, and you. Taking a look at your weather forecast. Increasing clouds tonight with a low around 56. Tomorrow, however, looks perfect. That was perfect today. Wow. Tomorrow's high is near 69. Lots of sunshine. Tomorrow night, a little crisp. For the first night that bars can open outside, it's going to get down to 47. So you got to have to choose.
Just in time for cold and flu season.
Yeah, really. It's strictly for medicinal purposes. Sunny on Saturday with a high near 70. Chance of rain on Sunday with a high near 69. So temperature-wise, looking good. And into next week, more of the same. 70s and sunny. Weather brought to you by our friends at the Ironwood Golf and Country Club. Got a celebration coming up this year? No better way to celebrate it than at Ironwood Golf and Country Club. Over $250,000 in upgrades to our clubhouse, and it is gorgeous. Come by and take a look at it for yourself. It is the perfect setting to host a wedding, birthday, anniversary, baby reveal party, business meeting, holiday party. Ironwood offers several party spaces leading out to terraces with beautiful views of the Lee Trevino Signature Golf Course. Make your celebration one to remember at one of the most beautiful venues in eastern North Carolina. Contact Taylor Hetzel, banquet manager at Ironwood. Her number is 252-752-4653. Or email foodandbeverage@ironwoodgolf.com. So the next presidential debate will take place on October the 15th, 14 days from today. Welcome to October. The moderator will be Steve Scully, not to be confused with Captain Scully. Steve Scully, have you ever heard of him? Well, if you watch C-SPAN, perhaps. Steve Scully is that guy with the calm demeanor that answers we have a call from a Republican in New Jersey. Yes, what would you like to say? Well, I think Joe Biden's wonderful. Anyway, he's the guy that sits there and people eat it up, I guess. He's been on for a long time. He will be Perhaps his calm demeanor will calm everything down. And by the way, I understand that it's going to be more of a town hall where the questions will be asked by the folks in the audience, and Steve Scully will just moderate, point to people and say, ask your question. The the Biden campaign has asked for a mute button. So if Donald says something they don't like, he can just hit the mute button. But the most interesting thing about this guy, Steve Scully, is guess who he interned with when he was in college in Washington, D.C.? What do you think? He interned with Joe Biden as his boss.
You can't make this stuff up.
You can't.
I mean, do you think there's any chance at all, if someone had any connection at all with the Republican, that they would be the moderator?
No way. No way.
And I think I read where maybe his wife is his wife. Someone in his family, someone close in his family, has some like current ties in some Democratic circles.
Well, he had like 12 brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And he described them as going from, I mean, he's not saying literally, but figuratively, his siblings go from Rush Limbaugh to Rachel Maddow. But in 2016, he posted a picture on, I guess it was on his Twitter account, of he and Joe Biden standing next to each other at the Biden Beach Bash of 2016. And he put as a label to this picture of him standing next to Cousin Eddie, "Gotta love at the Vice President at the Biden Beach Bash 2016. Gotta love him. And this guy's the moderator.
You know, the good thing is about a town hall format, though, you know, President Trump, I think, does a good job with that. And, in the past, Joe Biden's got some, when he's out amongst the voters and he's challenged by someone in the audience, he loses his temper pretty quickly.
Oh, yes.
And, of course, I'm sure if they have anything to do with it, they'll probably pack the town hall with a bunch of liberals, and any question might come up with Donald Trump. But really, when he's talking to voters, you hardly can't. I cannot think of a time that President Trump has lost his cool. He's been respectful. He may disagree, but he's respectful. But Biden will really lose his temper.
And Trump has that ability. It's just a gift, I guess. But he has the ability to connect with people. I mean, immediately connect with people.
That's a big statement.
Yeah, but it's true.
Well, it's kind of like I've heard several people say, and I actually met President Clinton one time, and I've heard people, Republicans and conservatives, say the same thing. He is charming as heck.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that you could get sucked into it because he's a charming guy.
That's a friend of my wife's met him years ago, and she said that same thing. She said it takes your breath away how he charms you. I don't have that gift, so I wouldn't know it. But think about this. So the moderators, Chris Wallace, who is clearly an anti-Trumper. If you ever watch Fox News Sunday, it is clear that he's an anti-Trumper. And it seems to me he has really drifted to the left in the last 12 to 18 months. Susan Page writes for the USA Today. She is anti-at-real Donald Trump. Steve Scully worked for Donald Trump. He also worked for Teddy Kennedy back in the 80s. Kristen Welker works for MSNBC. That's who your moderators are. Now, which one? I guess Welker is doing the vice presidential debate. Stephen Cruiser, who wrote in the morning briefing this morning, I like this. He says, as I have written many times, my issue with these political theater debates is that the questioning is all framed around Democratic talking points. You'll hear a lot of why don't you believe in climate change crap, but never hear anything like, how can you be a Catholic and support infanticide? That would be a good question. The kind of real journalists might ask. Sadly, real journalists have gone the way of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I would like for some time to ask the question, what do you think about climate change? As opposed to, why don't you believe in climate change? So,
how often do you beat your wife?
Yeah.
Or do you still beat your wife? I tell you what, let's lighten things up and play a little political trivia, shall we? We've got a prize package of over $200. 561-8255 is the number to call. Your category is William Howard Taft. Okay? So anybody that's a Taft expert, give us a call. 561-8255. We'll play when we get back.
Smitty's Restaurant is back open every day for breakfast and lunch from 5:30 to 2. Smitty's is back with their great biscuits and full breakfast items every morning and their great country cooking for lunch at the Country Mart location on Highway 11 between Greenville and Bethel. And don't forget, Country Mart stores are now the home of Shell gasoline. Save 5 cents per gallon on your first 20 gallons with gold status. And remember, Country Mart has your 93-octane non-ethanol premium for boats, lawnmowers, and other small engines. Country Mart, Highway 11, where Smitty's is now open, and Highway 903 in Stokes.
In this election, the health and financial security of Americans 50 plus are on the line. From preventing cuts to Social Security to protecting Medicare to lowering prescription drug prices, you deserve to cast your vote on the issues that matter to you. And AARP is here to help. We're working to make sure your voice is heard. And this year, that means voting early and voting safely. Know all your voting options. In person, from home, or absentee. And if you're not voting in person, be sure to request and return your ballot early. Everyone from working parents to family caregivers to seniors in nursing homes should be able to vote safely. So don't wait. Visit us at aarp.org/ncvotes and find out how to vote early. You deserve the peace of mind that comes with voting safely and knowing your vote will count. Learn how AARP North Carolina is fighting to protect voters 50 plus. Visit aarp.org/ncvotes today. Paid for by AARP.
Jim Clement from Town Insurance is with me in the studio. Jim, this has been an interesting time for everyone. What has Town Insurance done differently during the crisis?
First, Henry, we've tried to put our people first, make sure that they're safe in their working environment, and we've been able to adopt a policy where people are working remotely from home on a rotational basis. Secondly, we've got to be realistic about the situation we're dealing with. We're all being impacted one way or the other by this pandemic, and we've got to acknowledge the reality of the situation and try to stay positive for our employees as well as our clients.
You work with a lot of different insurance carriers, Jim. What are they doing for your clients right now?
Each of these carriers is trying to establish what is the new normal, and that means being flexible in payments and being adaptable to change.
You guys are the best, Jim. We appreciate your information and what you're doing for your clients right now. For more information, call Town Insurance at 252-756-8300. And as Jim always says,
it's time to come to town.
Did you know breast cancer kills 113 people every day? That's unacceptable.
African American women die from breast cancer nearly 41% more than Caucasian women.
That's unacceptable.
Breast cancer is the leading cause of all cancer deaths for Hispanic women.
Breast cancer is unacceptable.
Together with Susan G. Komen, we're committed to reducing U.S. breast cancer deaths by half.
And we're going to do it by 2026.
Visit Komen.org/unacceptable.
All right, welcome back in. It is time for Political Trivia, 561-8255. Your prize package includes a free oil change for your car or pickup at Dave Davis's East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep or at Washington Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. A gift certificate from Fit for Life, including 2 free training sessions with a fitness coach. A $20 gift card to the Pirates Cove Car Wash, a proud partner of the ECU Courtesy Car Program. A $60 diagnostic card from University PC Care for any iPhone or PC repair. A gift card for a free round of golf with Cart at Ironwood. A $20 gift card to Mucho Bueno. For lunch or dinner, Mucho Bueno, real Mexican street food located in front of the Westbrook Shopping Center, US 70 West in Havelock. And a $20 gift card to Gwendy's Goodies Bakery in Ayden, North Carolina. Delicious, baked fresh, made from scratch goodies. Remember, if you or anyone in your immediate family has won recently, let 60 days pass before you play again. First up from Winterville, we have Mitchell on the line. Hi, Mitchell.
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You ready to play?
I am.
All right, your category is William Howard Taft. Here's your question. What distinctive record does William Howard Taft hold as a result of his presidential re-election campaign of 1912?
That's a tough one.
Some of them are easy, some of them are tough. This would be in the tough category. Right. Take a guess.
You repeat. Can you repeat it one more time? Sorry.
What distinctive record does William Howard Taft hold as a result of his presidential re-election campaign of 1912?
He dropped out of the race.
That is not it. Now, he might have wished he had when you find out what the answer is, but that is not it. But good guess, Mitchell. 561-8255. Let's go to Frank in Eatonton. Hi, Frank.
Hey.
What do you think? What distinctive record does William Howard Taft hold as a result of his presidential re-election campaign of 1912?
He won by the smallest electoral count.
That is
the slimmest margin.
Oh boy, you are so hot. I'm gonna get. You're so hot that I'm gonna let you refine it a little bit. You are right there, sitting next to it, but that is not it. But oh, you are close. I'm gonna let you. I'll give you a second guess. You're so close.
He had the. I know I'm trying to say it. I can't figure out how I want to say it. He had the smallest percentage of necessary electoral college votes.
That's not it. That's not it. You were so close, Frank. You have given somebody a huge hint, Frank. Whoever wins, they need to give Frank half the goodies. 561-8255. Let's go to Greenville. Thomas is on the line. That opens up a line, by the way. 561-8255. Thomas.
Good afternoon.
Did you hear Frank's answer? That is so close. What distinctive record does William Howard Taft hold as a result of his presidential re-election campaign of 1912?
Maybe the smallest percentage of the popular vote.
That is it! Congratulations, Thomas.
Okay.
William Howard Taft in his presidential re-election campaign of 1912 only garnered 23.2% of the popular vote. This is the worst finish in the history for an incumbent president running for re-election. You know what's interesting about this is Teddy Roosevelt, he served from 1901 to 1909, and he endorsed Taft for the previous presidential election. He didn't like what Taft did while he was president, so he decided to run against him. And when he did, they ended up splitting the popular vote. If Teddy Roosevelt hadn't gotten in again, Taft would have beaten. Who did he beat? He beat not Harding, Wilson, Woodrow Wilson. He would have beat Woodrow Wilson by 1 million votes. But so Teddy Roosevelt didn't help the cause. His Progressive Moose Party didn't help the cause. Thomas, congratulations.
Thank you.
Hang on, and we need to get Frank and you together so you can go share a meal at Mucho Bueno. Hang on, Clark's going to get all your information. Thanks, everybody, for calling. Sorry, Frank. You really deserve a lot of kudos, but Thomas gets the winnings today. Stay with us. Benny and I'll be right back.
Chick-fil-A of Winterville is a proud part of the Winterville community. They're open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 6 days a week on Memorial Drive. Chick-fil-A of Winterville providing delicious meals and super quick service every time, no matter how long the line.
Morgan Printers has helped businesses and organizations communicate their brand for over 60 years. Whether using business forms, mailings, vehicle graphics, wall graphics, yard signs, or other signage, we always make you stand out. Call Morgan Printers at 252-355-5588. Our customers love us, and you will too.
North Carolina Driving School offers driver education and defensive driving classes for those who receive a traffic ticket. Classes are held on Wednesday nights in downtown Winterville, beside Main and Mill. Call 321-6700 or visit their webpage at ncdrivingschool.com.
Full Service Flooring in Winterville is your premier flooring store for carpet, luxury vinyl plank, hardwood, ceramic tile, vinyl flooring, and more. For a free consultation, give Full Service Flooring a call today at 252-756-9308 or visit us online at fullserviceflooring.com.
How much money are liberal special interest groups spending to elect Cal Cunningham? $1 million? $5 million? The answer is shocking. Over $50 million. And why are liberal special interests spending so much to elect Cal Cunningham? They know Cal wants to change the Senate rules so they can jam through their extreme agenda, like defunding the police. Cunningham voted to slash nearly $8 million from North Carolina's police budget. Liberals know he'll do it again. Cunningham voted for $1 billion tax increase after promising not to. Liberals know he'll do it again. And Cunningham supports Nancy Pelosi's health care scheme, which could shut down dozens of North Carolina hospitals and cost us more than $2,300 a year. Washington liberals are betting $50 million on Cal Cunningham. They trust Cal. North Carolina can't. Senate Leadership Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.senateleadershipfund.org.
Specialty FDR is your local fencing, decking, and roofing company, serving Pitt County for over 15 years. Charitable contributions have taken a hit in 2020, and Sean at Specialty FDR wants to give back to the community that's been so good to his company. Each month, Specialty FDR will choose a local nonprofit. This month, Specialty FDR is giving to Pitt Friends in support of the Greenville Animal Shelter. If you want to nominate your favorite local charity, email specialtyfencing2016@gmail.com. That's specialtyfencing2016@gmail.com.
There are lots of ways to be a kid. My way is to take a road that's not easy. So it's a good thing I'm an adventurer. That's why I'm going to be a Cub Scout, because scouting will guide me to really big things. It will teach me to navigate the woods with confidence, and to navigate the world with confidence too. Scouting will show me a kid who is brave, trustworthy, loyal, and kind. A kid who is always prepared. A kid who is me. So scout me in.
Be safe in Biden's America. I can't even call it Biden's America.
Let your voice be heard this November.
I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom.
These people are crazy.
This is Tom Lamprecht with more news and views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Congratulations, Thomas Mizell. He came up with the right answer. A little help from Frank there up in Edenton. But it was really interesting.
Amazing guy.
He is amazing. William Howard Taft, would have won the 1912 election, most likely. I mean, we don't know for absolute certainty. Teddy Roosevelt didn't like what Taft was doing when he was president. They were both Republicans. Teddy Roosevelt, who was the president from 1900 to 1908, went to the Republican convention and tried to win the nomination away from Taft to himself so he could run for re-election. At that point, we didn't have the two-term limit. And he didn't, and then he went out with his buddies, his Bull Moose buddies, and started the Bull Moose Party, and ran. So from the time of the convention to that November, he put together a campaign, and he actually came in second behind Woodrow Wilson, who was an incredible lib and a racist, by the way. And he, because Teddy Roosevelt got back in the race, Taft got the lowest popular vote margin on a percentage basis of any incumbent president in the history of our country. If Teddy Roosevelt hadn't run, Taft probably would have gotten 60% of the popular vote, been reelected, and we would not, it would really, that movie, A Wonderful Life, what it would have been like if someone wasn't around, what would it have been like if Woodrow Wilson never became president of the United States? How much more conservative of a nation would we be? Because we were just talking during the break, I think Woodrow Wilson was more liberal than FDR was. He was a lib.
It's amazing. You just stop and think about what a presidential campaign would have been like in 1908 compared to now. Information didn't travel fast at all, and sometimes in rural areas, I've heard my grandfather talk about it many years ago. They would read newspapers sometimes 2 weeks late, 2 weeks
Find
old.
out who won. It was 2 weeks later.
So it's just amazing how much has changed in 100 years.
Kayleigh McEnany, who is the press secretary up at the White House, she had a great line earlier today. They were asking, they're accusing Donald Trump of being a racist, as always. Why don't you denounce this, denounce that? She got into an argument with one of the CBS hacks, Paula Reed. She had a great line at the end of their argument.
The president has done quite a bit to combat this threat. First of all, last week, he also, in addition to saying he wants to prosecute the KKK as domestic terrorists, he said that lynching should be a national hate crime. Again, I think there's no stronger signal that you can send than advocating for the execution of a white supremacist, the first time there's been a federal execution in 17 years. He's been unmistakable.
It's different than actually doing it.
He's continually condemned it, and it is really...
The record on this, to go to John's question, is mixed. He has condemned it, he's equivocated. At times he said he didn't want to acknowledge it or address it. His record is very mixed on this issue.
His record is not mixed in the slightest. And when you go back in history, you can see that
history right here.
When you go back in history, you can see that Jesse Jackson has praised the president as someone who served underserved communities. This president with Mar-a-Lago, it was the first Palm Beach club open to African Americans and Jews. And in fact,
his record is mixed. He has not been consistent on the issue of white supremacy. So I'm asking you, what has this White House done to combat what the FBI says is one of the deadliest threats in this country?
We're not having a debate on a cable news network.
You're
right now, you need to
saying
let
that he
me
condemns
finish.
it. I have his record right here. It's
You need
mixed.
to let me finish.
His record is
It's
mixed.
quite funny that the media goes haywire about interrupting in debates and then chooses to pursue that very same tactic themselves. This is a White House briefing. You ask a question and you give me time to answer.
Great line. Great point. You claim to be outraged and offended when Trump interrupts Joe Biden. You do it to Kayleigh McEnany all the time. If you ever watch any of those press conferences, that's all they do. But they're outraged. Oh, that's so unpresidential.
She's amazing.
I think she's the best press secretary that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean,
she
is unbelievable.
She is sharp. Lots to talk about that we didn't cover, but you know what? There's always tomorrow. We'll do it again then, and I think we're going to have Keith Kidwell on. He's got this prayer rally coming up down at the Beaufort Courthouse. He's going to be with us tomorrow, and Bennie and I'll be here too. So we'll see you then. Have a great evening, and let's do it tomorrow at 5:00. Bye bye, everybody.